Hey, welcome back to the show. Today we'll check out the Master Effects EQ4H Professional, which is based off the classic Furman PQ4 EQ that Dimebag made so popular. The classic Furman PQ3 and PQ4 EQs were used widely in the 80s and 90s from bands like Motley Crue. Metallica had them in their live rigs. They were used in so many recordings just as either boosting the front end of amps, using the EQs, or just as clean boost just to drive the amps a little bit harder, as well as being used as EQs in effects loops. But either way, the Furman PQ3 and PQ4 rack-mounted EQs are absolute classics. But to try and find one today that's at an affordable price and still works like it should is just about unheard of. So we're really fortunate that the guys at Master Effects have managed to replicate the entire analog switching and circuitry and put it into a STOMP effect enclosure that's really easy to use and just works with your rigs without having to worry about rack gear. For anyone that's new to the channel, I've done videos on the EQ from EQFH Professional, which is the PQ3 clone. There'll be links in the description for that. But for the EQ4H Pro, this is a 4-band parametric EQ that has 2 mid bands. It's got a low band with the bass frequencies from 20 to 400 Hz, then a low mid from 75 to 1500 Hz, a high mid from 250 to 5000 Hz, and a treble that goes from 1.2 to 20k. And the sculpting potential with this EQ is absolutely massive. It's got different peak shelf filters right here just for the low and high bands, just so you can get away from the bell curve and actually change them to be peak shelves. You've got a master level control. It's a boost before the actual preamp itself within the unit, so you can boost all the frequencies within the parametric EQ and just really saturate your sound. Or you can turn the EQ parameter off and use it as just a clean boost, as a lot of bands actually use these EQs as clean boosts in the front end of amps. The Furman EQs are renowned for having their own sonic footprint even when the EQ is turned off. It's also equipped with the overload circuitry just to show you when you push the unit a little bit too hard and drive too much gain in the front. And lastly, it's fitted with the high-low input switching there, just so when you're driving it through the effects loop, you can have it on the high input. But I find as a boost going through the front, as Dimebag Darryl did, if you've got it on the low input, you can still get that saturation and the gain pushing through. You don't want to drive that front end of the amp just too hard and cause everything to break up far too much. Having 12 dials on your parametric EQ, it's a little bit overwhelming at the start, but when you get used to it, it's actually really user-friendly, just the way that you can sculpt those low and high mids and just make them tie in with the bass and treble frequencies. You've got your frequency dials just to hone in on each frequency for the bandwidth that you would like to control. And then you've got your bandwidth or Q dials just to change the width of each of the curves within those. And the way that I've got this set up today is the classic way that Dimebag used for his Pantera albums. I'm running my guitar straight into a 6-band EQ that's really pushing those mids and really making that quacky wah sound. It's then going into the low input of the EQ4H, where again I'm just boosting different frequencies and using the level control really just to wind it up and add more saturation. And then it goes into the front end of Dime's amp, which he used a Rattle RG100 or Century 100 back in those records. But in this case, I've got the Vulgar preamp by Master Effects, and it really is a close recreation of those old Rattle RGs that Dime had. It's got that same sort of saggy bottom end, it's got the same gain structure. They react very much the same when you're boosting all the front end with these same EQs. So for me, it's the closest amp I've got to try and recreate this tone. It's then going to the front end of the Boss Katana where it's actually getting no color at all. You can see the settings there. We're going through the acoustic channel, and that's been outputted through the 2 notes Torpedo Captor X, where we're simulating a Dave Mustaine 412 with V30s inside. I know there's other Randall speakers within the software to try and simulate the sound a little bit closer, but this is just a speaker that I think is really cool and sounds great just about with every setup that I use. And I've got presets and links within the description just so you can download it and make the same sound. Dime's tone was just so unique, and the way that he set up his core tone was just so different to everyone else out there. The only place he actually skipped his mids in all the recordings was on the actual amp itself, just taking away the mids there. Everywhere else he just had mids pushing. Even the pickup that he used, the Dimebag or the Bill Lawrence, they were really mid-focus style pickups that really pushed the guitar to make that sort of half-cocked wah sound. All the analog switching and circuitry is done to capture the same values and same characteristics as the original PQ4. Today I've only used it just as the front end boost, just as Dime did, but in videos to come I'll be using it in the effects loop of different amps just to really try and sculpt and create tones just the way we have in all those other videos. But for today's video I just really wanted to see how it'd work in the style of Dime's rig, trying to get that Reinventing the Steel tone. But I think it's a classic tone, really great songs. It was just so groovy, that whole album. But there you have it, guys. It's the EQ4H Professional by Master Effects, a near exact recreation of the classic Furman PQ4. There'll be links in the description, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.